What if the next sound you hear is a king's decree ordering your death? One command, one bow, one moment of pressure, and if you refuse, you burn alive. Now imagine standing there, watching everyone around you fall to their knees, but you don't. And the furnace is already being heated, not just hot, but deadly. And what happens next will shock a king who thought he had full control. In ancient Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar ruled with power that made nations tremble. One day he built something massive in the desert, a golden statue towering high into the sky. It wasn't just art, it was a command, a symbol of obedience, a test of loyalty. Then the decree went out. When the music plays, everyone must bow. No exceptions, no excuses. And anyone who refuses will be thrown into a blazing furnace. Among the crowd stood 3 young men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They had been taken from their homeland, raised in a foreign kingdom, surrounded by pressure to forget their God. But they didn't forget. And now, the moment had come. The music echoed across the plains, drums, horns, flutes. The signal began, and like a wave, thousands dropped to their knees. The ground disappeared under a sea of bowed heads. But 3 men remained standing, still, unmoved. Someone noticed, then another. Whispers spread through the crowd. Why aren't they bowing? Soldiers rushed to report it, and soon word reached the king. Nebuchadnezzar's face darkened. He called them forward. The crowd went silent. You could feel the tension in the air, like the world was holding its breath. The king spoke. "Is it true that you refuse my command?" Then came the ultimatum. "I will give you one more chance. When the music plays again, bow, or you will be thrown into the furnace, and no God will rescue you from my hand." The silence was heavy. Everyone expected them to fall, to give in, to save themselves. But Shadrach stepped forward, and what he said changed everything. "O Nebuchadnezzar, our God is able to save us from the fire." A pause. The crowd leaned in. "But even if he does not," the words hung in the air like thunder, "we will not bow to your statue." A gasp spread through the crowd. Even the soldiers looked shocked. Even the king froze. Because this wasn't rebellion. It was faith. Unshakable faith. And that kind of faith terrifies power. Nebuchadnezzar's face twisted with rage. "Heat the furnace, 7 times hotter." The soldiers rushed. Fire roared higher and higher until the air itself trembled. Flames burst like a living thing. It was so hot, the soldiers who approached it collapsed instantly. But the king didn't stop. "Bind them and throw them in." Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were tied up, step by step, dragged toward the furnace. The roar of fire grew louder. The heat hit their faces. Their eyes didn't move. No fear, only peace. Then, they were thrown in. The moment their bodies hit the flames, the fire swallowed them completely. The crowd screamed. The king leaned forward, expecting ashes, waiting for silence. But something wasn't right. Seconds passed, then more. And suddenly, the king stood up, confused, shocked. He stared into the furnace and shouted, "Didn't we throw in 3 men?" "Yes, your majesty." But the king's voice shook. "I see 4 men walking in the fire." The entire crowd froze. "They are not tied anymore. And the 4th looks like a son of the gods." The flames still burned, but inside, something impossible was happening. The fire wasn't destroying them, it was surrounding them, but not consuming them. They were walking, not crawling, not burning. walking inside the fire.
Then the king shouted, "Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, come out!"
And they walked out of the furnace. Every eye was locked on them. Silence. Then shock. Their clothes untouched. Their skin unharmed. Their hair not singed. And not even the smell of smoke was on them. Not a trace, not a burn, not a mark. The king stepped back in disbelief, and something shifted in him. He said, "Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. No other God can save like this." Now imagine this for a moment. You're in your own fire. Pressure at school, pressure from friends, pressure to compromise your values, pressure to fit in. And everything around you is saying, just bow a little, just give in a little, it won't matter. But deep down, you know it does. Because some choices look small, but they test something eternal. Here's what this story whispers to you. Faith doesn't always stop the fire, but it guarantees you're never alone in it. And sometimes, the very thing meant to destroy you becomes the place where God shows up the most clearly. So the question isn't, will you avoid the fire? The question is, will you still stand, even if you don't know the outcome? Because the truth is, there is a fourth presence in every fire you walk through, and you are never truly alone. Stories like this remind us that we aren't alone. If you enjoyed this animation, subscribe to Aura Scripture and share it with someone who needs encouragement today. It takes a long time to create these videos, and your support truly goes a long way. Thank you.